Welcome to the Cyber Business Podcast, where we feature top founders and entrepreneurs and share their inspiring stories. Now, let's get started with the show.
Matthew Connor here, host of the Cyber Business Podcast, where we feature successful business leaders, authors, top law firms, green energy companies, and more. Today, we're joined by the CEO of Midwest Labs and the author of Leaders Look Within, Own Your Heart to Live a Life of Gratitude, Brent Pohlman. Brent, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matthew. I'm looking forward to this. This should be a great discussion. Number of topics, as we were talked about just a little bit here before the show started. Let's get into it. I'm excited.
All right, me too. Before we get too far, a quick word from our sponsors, then we'll jump right in. This episode is brought to you by cyberlinks.com. That's cyberlynx.com. Do you know if a hacker's in your system? Most people and most companies don't until it's too late and the hacker's already done damage. A hacker's job is to bypass your security, so companies need a way to know when someone's gotten past their security. That's where CyberLink's intrusion detection comes in. With our 24/7 security operations center, we monitor your computers, networks, and cloud accounts using a combination of AI and highly skilled cybersecurity technicians in real time to detect any signs of attack or intrusion. So if a bad guy gets past your security, we'll know right away and be able to kick them out. Find out more at cyberlinks.com. That's cyberlynx.com. And now back to our show. Okay, Brent, thanks for coming on. So you wrote a really cool book, which I just finished last night, Leaders Look Within. Available in just about every format. Really great book. So kudos there. Can you tell those who haven't read it a little bit about it?
Sure. It was a few years ago when my dad and I kind of took over the company. He had two other partners with him in 2016. And that period from 16 to about 2020 was pretty, I'll say a lot was going on there. Pretty tumultuous. There was just a lot of things, a lot of changes. And as I went through those changes, I just really heard over and over, what does a leader look like? And how can you be an effective leader? I was looking at my dad, who started the company in 1975, and I was trying to see what can I gain from his leadership experience? What is it going to take for me to lead? And all these questions. I had so many questions. And I don't know if I really knew the answer of what it was going to take to be an effective leader. So once I got into the process, I really enjoyed it. And I learned so much and I made so many mistakes. And I just thought, leadership is really personal and you got to find it yourself. And I think that was the overall message. I don't know about you, but I got thousands of books on management, leadership. Here's the 10 steps to an effective leader. Here's the 5 steps to effective manager. So none of them really resonate with me. And I maybe one or two, and then it really hit me that every person has to find it for themselves. And who am I to talk about leadership? You have to find it for yourself. And that was really the key for me.
I love that. And you do such a great job in the book about kind of portraying that and being really easy to connect with. It's like, I felt like, I'd heard of stories about you, going in and, some authors you read and you're like, you can't really relate to the author. You don't really get a feel for who they are. But in your book, I really kind of got a feel for who you were. And you're like, oh, he's a real solid, nice guy. He's telling the story. This is not a big ego thing. This is hey, let me share what I've learned in a real genuine way, which I thought was really nice. And it comes across in the book. So that was just well done. I want to kind of congratulate you on that. I don't think that's an easy feat. And maybe it was because it's just kind of who you are. So let me ask you that. Is it that kind of who you are? And it's just like, it genuinely it just came out that way.
Well, there's a funny story behind that. I met somebody who was in self-publishing and she said, all you need is a ghostwriter to help you write your book. And I thought, well, maybe I'll just do that. I'll just get a ghostwriter to unlock my thoughts. And I really did need a ghostwriter to really do that and get everything organized because I had so many themes. And they say through the process, don't let anybody else read this book until you're all done. So I didn't. I followed it. I followed that rule to the T. And then I gave it over to my wife to read, Michelle, and she said, this isn't you. So
nice.
I said, nice. Okay. That was probably a month of like, okay, what did I just do here for a year? And so I took another year and I rewrote the book. And she was absolutely right because it was not coming from my heart. And it was the middle of COVID. And my faith is really key to me to unlocking my heart. And I left it out. I decided which way to go. But I remember during COVID and all the rioting and just the weird comments, I was a little afraid. I think I was a little scared to put something out there. But then I decided, you know what? It's worth it. I have to, this is who I am. I have to put this in there. So I rewrote the book and it took me another year to do that. So
That's cool.
again, yeah,
So when you rewrote it yourself, not with the ghostwriter?
right. I took everything he had and then
Wow.
I did every chapter I went back and rewrote content in there.
Well, it's fantastic. I mean, it was just such an easy, fast read, and you pick up a lot of really cool, um, I guess, tidbits along the way. So let's dive into a few of those. I
Yeah.
really like. So you're second generation, I think, as you mentioned, and I think that's really kind of important for a lot of people because if you start a business, you have kids, you want them to take over the business. You'd like them to. You don't necessarily have them to do it, but I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's kind of a silent wish or dream that hey, look, I built this successful business. I'd love, if it comes to fruition, that my kids want to be in the business and they take over. That's kind of ideal, right? And but I think at the same time, there is the worry that we've heard statistically the second and third generations destroy the company because they didn't go through the same process, the grit, the struggle to get it up and going, and so they lack that struggle. They lack the understanding of what's happening at all levels. And you kind of you go into maybe not that part, but the how you went about learning the business you go into really nicely. And I think that was well done. So can you talk about that? Why was this your dad's idea of, hey, you've got to start kind of in the mailroom, if you will, and work your way up to the C-suite? Or was that you and you're like, I gotta know because how this business operates if I'm ever gonna run it?
Sure. I think I worked in the business from the time I was 15 after school till I went to college. And I'd come back during summers during college and work at the lab. And I always knew I wanted to do two things. I wanted to teach and I wanted to get into business. So after college, I had a long talk with my dad about it. And he and we both agreed that I needed to get away. I was not allowed to come back to the company right after college. And so he said, you need to get some experience out there on the outside before you even think about coming back. And at that time, I probably wasn't, my mind wasn't even like, I don't know if I want to come back to, I don't have the passion you did. I'm not there. So I did work, I taught for 5 years at the high school and college level, and then worked in the professional um, services, mainly doing ERP implementations on the technical side, PeopleSoft, and that was really. And I worked for some great companies. Some are no longer around, like Arthur Anderson and HDR, but I learned a lot in those experiences. So then, when the time was right, my dad said, hey, I got two partners. I think I'm going to get kicked out, and I need you back. Are you interested? And I thought that time in the corporate world, I mean, I don't know about you, but you work more harder and longer hours than anybody else if you and hope you get noticed so you can move up the ladder.
Yep.
And I just said, you know what, maybe I'd take a chance on this. So I came back in marketing, and it was hard. I'll just say it was hard. I had all these ideas. I want to make so many changes. I was pretty much told, be quiet. You need to just fit in. We've got things running here. We don't need any, you need to learn the business. So from 2005 to 2015, it was about learning the business and learning how things worked and getting a better understanding about that. And then when 2015, my dad's two other partners retired. So it was just he and myself. And I thought he was like a little kid. He was just like let loose. He wanted all the changes all of a sudden. And I saw this in him. And he did tons of changes in 2015, 16. We were going at 100 miles an hour. And then I thought, how do I get effective leaders in here? Maybe I look at the outside and I bring some great ones in here. Because at that time you could really recruit and find some of the best people. And then I realized, oh gosh, These guys are not a culture fit here, and it was such a huge learning for me. And so I would say, through that whole process, yes, learning that was very important because then, to your point, you have to really get inside yourself and see how all these things fit together. It's not right or wrong. It's really how, okay, I see why these happen for a reason. I think that was the really awakening for me. I see why my dad did things the way he did, but maybe that doesn't work today. Or that's such a different thought. I don't think I'm going to keep that, or I'm not going to keep that. So you really have to do a lot of that type of thinking, I think, going
Love
through.
that. So one of the things I love is, and it's kind of the premise of the book, is with the looking within. I think a lot of people struggle with that sort of introspection, right?
Yeah.
It is a lot. It's a lot of work, and it's a different kind of work, right? And so, do you have any tips, tricks as you went through it? Things you can share with the audience.
Yeah. I think writing the book, it was like in process. Some of these things were still kind of, I hadn't really finalized it. So it really helped to get my thoughts down on paper. And again, as I got dug more and more to those things, sorting it out, it helps to work with a coach. It does work. I think I found the benefit in that. And what that really led me to was, am I really an entrepreneur at heart? Do I really even have that? And I joined a mastermind. And I'll never forget, I was in the room with 150 other entrepreneurs, all sizes from a couple 100,000 all the way up to 30, $40 million companies. And I did. You have to be in the room with those type of people and understand what that is all about. And I said, oh, absolutely. I feel this. Yes, I can do. Yeah, I have that. I have that heart of an entrepreneur. I want to see this. I have this mission and vision. And I think all my life, my dad was a little, to your point, you said it earlier, he was a little scared to bring his family in. He wants them to, but ultimately this was his baby and he didn't want anything to really, he ran a successful company. Why would he want somebody to come in and just destroy it or sell it or do anything to it? So I think I could see both sides of that, but you really have to have the heart first. I really think you have to have the heart. Being an entrepreneur is a whole different ballgame. It is than working in the corporate world. Absolutely.
Yeah, uh, couldn't agree more. And even in the title, you get to gratitude, and I'm a huge believer in gratitude. I start my day with it, and I end my day with it, and I try to implement it throughout my day and everything. And it is such a huge force in my life. And I think no matter what's going on, I have a ton to be grateful for. I don't, care how bad the day was. I've got so much to be grateful for. So what led you to that in this process?
Well, there was definitely a transformation going on in the way I was thinking about things. I was coming from the corporate world. I was highly reactive. I mean, you get in a meeting or somebody would say something, it didn't take much, or even at home, I was highly triggered. I'd say whatever came off the cuff. I think back, gosh, even though I had kids, I'll ask them, I was like, was I really present when you were around? Or did I always talk about work? Or because I couldn't shut my brain off at night. I just was always thinking about the next thing. I was deadline driven. I wanted to meet every single deadline. I just had such crazy goals. I think I put on myself, put a lot of pressure. I was not eating right. I was not healthy. And I think back to that, something had to give, and obviously, it did take some. It did have a little bit of effect on my health, but I think the biggest awakening for me was self care is not selfish. I mean, really, I thought it was selfish. I thought people who did self care stuff, went to the gym, had a trainer, that was all selfish, and I would never be that type of person.
Yeah, no, I think that's a big one for a lot of people. I think maybe especially for mothers, they tend to really struggle with that idea because I think culturally it's a kind of kid focused. And I think for guys, it's business focused. It's kind of work focused. And then when you're not working, well, then you've got your family obligations, and then who's got time beyond that? Right, for themselves. And so to prioritize that, I think initially selfish, right? I think that's the thing that everybody gets to. Oh, if you got a six pack, then obviously you're neglecting your kids, right? If you're spending all this time running and working out at the gym, that's time you could have spent with your kids.
Yep.
Well, that may be true. Well, at least the time, that not necessarily the intent, but while that's true, that what you get back is now you're a healthier, happier, more energetic you, to bring to your work, to bring to your kids, to your family. You've got more energy and time for them versus when you're not. What do it's just we get fatter, we get slower, we get more tired, and it's a slippery slope that you just keep falling down if you don't take care of the physical body. So I think you nailed it, and that's a point a lot of people miss.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let me ask you. You talk in the book about people, and then process and technology, and I love that, and I think that those three in that order. But can you talk about that?
Yeah, that was a concept that was given. My chief strategy officer, Dana, introduced me to that concept. And first time I heard it, it just really resonated with me because for so long I was on the belief that you had to be on the latest technology. I was technology driven through and through, doing ERP applications, change management. Obviously, you're going to improve all your processes through this technology, but the big thing that I was missing there was the people first, and that really comes with the heart of gratitude piece, because you will go farther faster if you invest in people than any process or any technology. And it, to your point, it always has to be in that order: people, process, and technology. And people is the hard one. It is the hard one. You got to have the right people. You got to have the right people in the right position. You've got to take care of people, and you got to ultimately, if you can get the trust and have that piece be in there. And again, this all happened probably in the last 3 or 4 years. It's huge. It's really huge. And then the processes become more consistent. The work, everything is a lot more consistent. And then on top of that, you're ready for the technology. It can be any technology, and you're ready to bring it in. And it goes so much smoother. So I wish somebody would have told me this about like 20, 30 years ago. But it has really made a huge impact, that concept, on the way I think about projects planning. It's such a powerful, it's three powerful words in that order. It's so powerful.
Yeah, it really is. It's concise and super powerful. Well, let's dive in a little bit into the people part. So you mentioned earlier that you found some really great leaders, but they weren't a good cultural fit. Have you come up with a process now of determining how do you filter out and decide, oh, they're a good fit? Have you what's your secret sauce now?
That's a great. Um, I People laugh at me, but really, I honestly found some of the best people, even just searching on LinkedIn and having interviews. But for me, it's really about values. It really comes down to what is in their heart and the values. You can kind of, I'm getting better at. I'm not saying it's perfect. You're gonna make mistakes, but man, if you can get that values piece and know that they really look after their family, they really take care of themselves, they really, yeah, they work through the issues, even at the places they've been, they see things a little bit differently than others, which is a good thing. They have good ideation, but all those things together, I think it really comes down to really value centered. What do they really value most in their lives? And if you can unlock that, it's hard, and we're not supposed to ask all these questions, but I kind of call like, mm, I probably overstepped the line on the HR piece a little bit, probably just because you got to find what's in the person's heart. You just have to know that, and you
Right.
can kind of see it. But it's that if you can unlock that, the faster you can unlock that, the faster you'll understand if that person's going to be a good fit or not, I think.
I love that. Can you give us an example of, and I'm not trying to, this is not a legal question, not trying to trap you, but to give us an idea of some of that, how you get there by pushing, if, as you said, the HR boundary. How do you do that? So for other business leaders who are like, how do I get to those values and really dig in there?
I love stories of people overcoming obstacles. So
Mhm.
I will always ask a question about that. Tell me a tough place you've been in personally or professionally and what were the steps you took to overcome that particular obstacle? I always probably lead or go pretty fast to that type of question because I want to see how
I love
they
it.
handle issues. And here, where are they blaming others? Did they take their own responsibility? And if they own it, you'll see through their examples. So those are the things that's probably my number one question is to unlock that.
That's a really good one. So for you, and I think it's a really good value is that taking responsibility for your own actions and the consequences and your mistakes, right?
Yes, yes. The other thing I've learned through this, I love to recruit. I like the HR side, the recruiting side, but I also have to trust my staff. So I will always, hit the HR director, the recruiter. If it's a high end position, okay, I want you guys they have to work with you or whatever department it is. They have to work with you first. You tell me what your best person is. If you want me involved, I will certainly be involved with that. But I want, I'm giving this to you. You have to work with this person. I trust you that you're going to bring the right person into this area because you know your area better than I do. So I think that's huge. Letting go of that was huge for me.
Oh, I love that because you hit on this topic of kind of not micromanaging and kind of unmanaging almost, right? Where you kind of trust your employees to do what they need to do. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it really was for me. Even in that 5 years, I'll never forget the day when it was Dana came to me and said, "We need you out of the day to day operations." And I said, "What?" And she said, we need a new building. We need to look at a different campus because we're outgrowing this campus, and we think that you would be the best person to lead that, but you can't be in the day to day. You need us. Let us do the day to day, and you be the visionary person. Everyone wants to know where this company is going, and she was so right about that.
Yeah.
And that's what employees want. I mean, I can walk in here if I got a frown on my face or I'm ticked off, people see it and they set the tone. But that's why I have to bring my A game every single day. But she was so right. Getting out of the day to day. I don't think my dad retired at the age of 80 3 years ago. I don't know if he could ever get himself out of the day to day piece.
Yeah.
And that is huge for people. When you have a team behind you, you have to trust your team or you're not going to grow. Simple as
Yeah.
that.
No, I mean, that's a really good point because I think a lot of CEOs and especially founders like your dad really struggle with that because you're so invested. You were there for every little piece of everything. You know all of it. You're tied into it. It's your baby, and then to then be able to step and even you as you take over that, and now it's well, your dad's giving you, you're taking over for your dad. This is his baby. You certainly don't want to let him down. And it's your life. You've got all these people depending on you, and you can do the job really. You know how this needs to be done. So stepping back, um, what did you learn from that experience that you would encourage others to do to be able to?
Well,
Okay, I'm going to step back. Was it a cold turkey? Okay, I'm just take the plunge. Rip the
I,
band-aid off,
I
or did you
I
kind of?
wasn't good. I have to admit, I was not good at it at the beginning. And then when I would get in, then I'd see, oh my God, I would create so much chaos because I would do something, I would break something. I was in the way of what we were trying to do many times. So I think for me, the biggest piece as a leader was I always thought I had a why, but I don't know if most people, I don't even know if most people even have a strong why. So I really had to work on getting not only a strong why, but a how to it. So I know we hear Simon Sinek always say, what is your why? But what is your why and what is your how? And so for me, every single day, again, I wake up with gratitude for every breath I have, but I say my why and how, and I'm a person of faith who coaches people up and leads from the heart. And I have to say that every single day and it drives me. And when you have that, then you understand what your role is, and it really quickly, okay, this is the position I'm supposed to be in. I don't need to be in the operations every single day. I don't need to know what's happening over in this department, or I see this person or this person. I don't have to question that. I've got people in place to do those things. um, and it really takes, you have to have a strong why and how. That's the only way I really think that you can make it through that. piece for that process.
Well, there's a couple of things that kind of that I want to explore from that, because one is the why and how for the organization. Now that you're in that strategic CEO position, and you're no longer, I'm an old Army guy, so for me, it's easy for me to be like to understand. Well, there's a time when you're in the trenches, and it is us, and that's that tactical boots on the ground. You're executing. It's the operations of a company. When you're in the day-to-day operations, you're in the trenches, the bullets are flying, everything's going, and it's exhilarating, it's fun, the stuff's going on, it's where all of it comes from, right? Without that, there is no anything else. So it's easy to get stuck in the trenches. But then when you step back and you're now in the command post, you're the general on the strategic side, back now you're the CEO. You cannot be in the trenches and be seeing everything there. So I commend you for being able to get to that CEO role. And I guess so. Going back to the why and how, did you also have to come up with a why and how for the company, your position, or is it simply the fact that you've got your why and how that allows you to implement and execute for the company and for the position?
Well, I think it's all of those things together. That's a loaded question. And I think the coaching part, I always loved coaching, whether it was my kids, whether it was in high school. So coaching has been a really big thing. Um, Funny story is one summer, and it's in the book. I told my wife I'm going down to a coaches clinic at the Chiefs. I want to go hear Dick Vermeil because I hear that this guy is just a phenomenal coach. So I pretended to be I can't remember, high school, college coach. I just said I just hope nobody calls on me because I'm going to be surrounded by coaches. I know football, but I don't know the ins and outs. I just want to be in the room with this guy.
I
And
love
being
that.
in the room with that guy and listening to him for an hour, oh my gosh, the respect the players have for that guy. And he had me crying too. You always heard about Dick Vermeil and the crying and the tears with his players and himself, but he had such a passion for what he did and who the people were that were around him. And that just always resonated with me that, okay, that's what it's all about. As part of a leader, you have to be an effective coach. And I think that piece for me personally, even at home, and it's really helped me. Like, I want to understand where people are coming from. I want to feel the energy in the room. I used to hear that and laugh at people who could say they could feel that, but it's
You
true. It
can.
is so true. You can, when you build your awareness, and you can work it. It's like a muscle. You have to work at it, but it is, once you figure it out, oh man, I mean, the possibilities there, it is just, it's amazing. And people light up. I mean, I remember in COVID, we're all wearing masks. We never shut down here,
Yep.
and it was hard. You couldn't see people's faces. But I remember even uh, social distancing, when that was finally lifted, people were coming, walking closer. People came together. It was just, people wanted to be around people. Um, but yeah, there's something to that with the coaching, with energy, and I think that that whole thing together really drives me. So my why and how, there's a lot built into that, but coaching is probably the biggest piece of that, I would say.
Well, I'd like to touch on that energy piece that you just mentioned, because I think immediately upon when I first met you, just what now 35 minutes ago, immediately the energy, you have this very warm, caring energy that comes across immediately. It's in your face, is the way you carry it, and this is over Zoom. So I can only imagine, like, in person in the room, that must come through, right? And I think so. I think that's really obvious, and I'm sure that affects everybody around you. When you're in an environment where you've got this kind of warm, caring, okay, we're on the same team, versus that cold, harsh, you screwed up, you're fired type thing. Okay, great. So I think that's huge, and so I just wanted to kind of point that out, because you
Yeah.
were anti-energy, if you will, initially. Like, that's silly, and I tell you, it's very palpable, your energy. So I think that's really great. Um, but going into that, when you go into a room, like, with a great coach, and I want to explore this coaching thing, because I think that's so important. Let's first go with the energy with this coach. Is this something where you try to learn from it, mimic it? And also what makes a great coach. But let's start first with that energy. And so you go into the room. There's this renowned coach who's for being a great leader, got this energy, very motivating and moving. How do you glean that? How do you learn from that? What was your takeaway?
You know,
I know,
I
small questions today, all
yeah.
easy.
No, I think my awareness factor is really just higher, much higher. I really want to understand what's happening, what's going on, what am I seeing? I'll even think about I analyze stuff probably, most people watch the football game. I'm watching the sidelines. I'm watching what the interactions are. Now, I'm a huge Chiefs fan too, by the way. So I'm getting a little bit tired of every camera being on Patrick Mahomes and being angry all the time. But I get it why he's so angry because his
Yeah.
receivers keep dropping the ball. But I would say I don't even know how to measure the energy. I think that's what a lot of people. So I do have what I do wear a whoop. I don't know if you're familiar with the whoop,
Mhm.
but my energy when I started with a coach, because I wanted to, how these people bring this energy. My energy was terrible. My HRV was awful. It was 0 to 10 was my HRV, heart
Mm.
rate variability. I was in the 0 to 10 for almost the first month. I had no idea that my energy was so low. I had no idea, but most people are in the reactive stage, and that makes you highly reactive.
Mhm.
And the only way you improve that is again, it's mind, body, soul, spirit. It's everything. What you eat, how you sleep, all those things. I had to get better. So I started at like 0 to 10, and now my average is about between 40 and 50. I have my low days, and I know why. I know why some when I feel off or I stayed out too late or did those things. That's going to bring the energy down, or maybe it's a situation, but you can absolutely measure your energy with your heart rate variability. That HRV is huge for me. And I go back and I look at my sleep, and sometimes I get a little frustrated. Like I thought I slept pretty good last night, but it it starts my day by saying, okay, here's where my numbers are. I can get really highly accelerated, both good and bad, and I've learned to kind of manage that. And you talked about the being in the room. Let's say we're in a room and somebody in the group says, "Hey, I think everybody in this room deserves a 30% salary increase." So my first 5 years ago, I would have said, "What the heck? What's it?" I would have been totally reactive. Today, people laugh at me because I take this huge, big, like deep breath. I'm like, I have to, okay, how am I going to respond? What's really going on here? And then I take 2 seconds to really process. And then I just say, okay, tell me more. I want to understand where's this question coming from? And I've learned to be such a better person with that energy and feel it the right way versus the wrong way.
I love that. And I think it's if you're reactive as you were saying, and you're just constantly reacting to the environment, and you're not taking the time to really respond and decide how you want, gather more information, make it, and then make a decision, then yeah, you're just, what are we then we're just like code in a machine. We're just like bouncing with cogs in a machine. It just doesn't make much sense to live any other way. But I get how we get there. So and I love that and totally agree. That's, I've seen so many leaders who were just the power of when something is obviously very I guess now they would say triggering, but it's one of these things that would be normally very emotional and would cause somebody to react very, I don't know, intensely. To see a leader not even really be phased and to take the moment to really consider it and not just react. It's so powerful. And after seeing that time and time again in the military, especially, I was like, oh wow, okay, it is such a powerful thing. And then you're like, that's a leader. And that's not just somebody who's reacting and I'm following them because they're looking out for where we need to go. And so it's easy to kind of get that respect, and then to follow them. So, but going back to the whoop now, because I think some people have seen it, some people haven't. You talked about how important it is for you. How long have you been using it now?
I've been using it 3 years for three
Years.
years. And I look at it. it's really shows me you have to have some strain in your life. You have to, so there's good stress, and that's the workouts. And you want to build that up. So again, that you can take on more. Um, I also, we talked about the sleep, quality sleep. I didn't realize like REM sleep, but I was close to zero for a while. And how could I get better sleep with this? Um, yeah, so I use it all the time, and it's just great. It is for me. It really sets the stage where my numbers are each
So you
day.
mentioned that you had always been a 4 or 5 hour a night sleep guy, which I'm always like, wow. Is that still the same way after getting through the work?
I'm about a 5 to 6. I've moved up a little bit better. 8 hours, just I don't know what it is about 8 hours, but I get up really early. I like to start 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. So I have been with no kids now in the house. 9 o'clock, I can get to bed by 9 o'clock. I never thought I'd be one of those people, but I just knew the value of sleep. I mean, you really, it is. There's sometimes you have to stay up, you're wrapping presents, you're getting ready for Christmas. Okay, I'm going to stay up with my wife. she needs me here too. I don't
Yeah.
just go to bed whenever I think I need to. Um, but yeah, no, I think there's really a lot of truth in getting enough sleep and getting the right exercise and building up your resistance. It's
Yeah.
amazing what you can do.
I've always wanted to be that. In fact, when I went, quick army story, when I was in the 82nd Airborne, and our battalion XO, really cool guy. He was telling me this story. I was driving him somewhere for whatever reason. I don't know what the story was there. Can't quite remember. We were just kind of chatting as, and he was telling me this story about how when he was about my age, he was a young lieutenant at the time. He was working for this guy who had gotten, I guess we were talking about sleep, and he was working for this guy who had gotten into a car accident. After the car accident, the guy needed about an hour of sleep a night. He couldn't sleep longer than that. So he would just work 23 hours a day. He was killing everybody, but he literally couldn't sleep longer. And he'd wake up fully refreshed. I'm like, I want that head injury, right? Of all the head injuries, that's like the magic, that's the one, right? They should be studying that guy. He should be in like the Smithsonian or some lab. But I always wanted to have that problem because, oh, could you imagine if you had 23 hours a day, you wake up after 1 hour refreshed? So I gotta, anytime because I've always been a good 7, 8 hours, right? When I go less, I could certainly do it, did it for a long time, but it takes its toll. I kind of get depleted. But for you, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, completely fine. You're not depleted at all. That's just when you naturally wake up.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I would love that.
Yeah.
Um,
The other one I would say with that though, I've learned is I get my blood taken or quarterly and get a supplement put together that all the different nutrients that you're missing with respect to that. So again, a lot of these things played together, and I didn't realize like I was B12. I was lacking B12. How do you ever know when you're lacking
yeah,
B12 is a vital? I mean, you need to have that. Or
for sure.
one time I was low in vitamin D. I mean, all these things we just don't know what we really until you do the test and until you really check it out for yourself and see.
Well, that's really cool. Let me ask you, are you going to like the local lab, like Quest Lab or whatever at your doctor's, or are you going, is there one of these, or are you using some other service?
Yeah.
How's that work?
Preventive. I'm using it's a company out of New York. It's Own It, and they have their own doctors.
On it. Yep.
I'm hopeful here that maybe that we have something locally. I'm Preventive is a huge goal of mine, and we could talk about that. I'm very excited about 2024 and our preventive that we're going to bring here at workplace, and that's
Let's,
a huge initiative. Okay, that's a good lead into that.
yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
One of the things, again, as a leader, I think you have to be very innovative with today's world and what's happening. And healthcare costs, as we know, are just crazy. We met with our broker, and the response back was, "Hey, you got to increase your deductibles. You got to increase copays because costs are just going up." And we said, "You know what? Our benefits are rich. We're going to keep that. That's a value. That's a strong value we have for employees. We're going to keep our low deductibles. We're going to keep our low copays. If you're an individual, it's free. Medical health insurance is free for you.
Wow.
because we value our young workforce. So
Okay.
we are opening January 1st a medical facility on campus here. We have for our 300 employees. We'll have it
Oh,
staffed 3 times a week with doctors and nurses. And we found a company that will come in. You prepay. We're self-insured. We're self-insured. And now on site here, our employees can go with their families or themselves to get medical care and preventive. There's a preventive piece of that. So I'm very excited about this to turn that whole cost
wow.
model around because costs are going up and no one
Right.
wants to address that. And
No,
so a
sure.
primary care visit was $200 to $300 was costing us just to go see their doctor. And then most of our people work during the day, so they go to urgent cares or emergency rooms, and that's another $1,000 or $5,000. So we said, let's bring the primary care facility here on campus.
So it actually made economical sense
Oh, absolutely.
on top of being such a huge value add for people. I mean, just
Yes.
to be able to just drop right in.
Yeah. And
Wow.
they
On
have
campus.
preventive. I don't know. I right now I go once a month for dry needling. I'm into the whole preventive part. It gave me my left leg back. I mean, I did not know my left leg. Every time I would run, it would get tightened up. I'm just a tight mess. I just learned that at this age, but now it's back and it's more mobile than ever. So there's a lot of preventive stuff that we can do to help us live longer and be better health wise.
Yeah, no, I think I think there's a couple of things on that. I think that a lot of people have there's like a stigma, if you will, to managing your diet, your weight, your exercise. And I think, people think that you shouldn't have to manage it if you're not at a healthy weight just naturally, then that's not how you're supposed to be. And I think that the problem with that is there's no other part of your life that you cannot manage and it go well. If you don't manage your finances, you're probably going to have a lot of problems when you try to cash a check. If you don't, if you don't manage your time, you're not going to get your stuff done, right? You just things won't get done on time, and it's going to be a mess. So why would health be any different? You got to manage your health, and I think both, and the way it ties in, and when you look at our medical industry, and then the actual health kind of issues, you can't. A doctor's not there to prevent you from getting sick. They're there to treat the problem, right, and get you back. But we have so many problems that get us to the doctor. We need to change. There's so much education that has to go along, in that on the preventive side. So I'd love to dive in. What's that program look like in terms of kind of health education, diet, exercise, nutrition? Is there any? How's that work with the preventive side?
I think we're going to learn so much more here coming up. I don't know if I have all the answers here. I think what got me was finding finding the right people, finding the right partner that to do this. And when he came in, Dr. Besmer, he pretty much said, I want to change, I want to revolutionize the whole medical industry by what we're doing. I don't want to work with insurance companies. And so I want to get back to, I know it's so different. And his visits, he doesn't believe in waiting rooms. So even at his own medical practice, there's no waiting room. Everything's done in an app. You can get in the next day and you're guaranteed 20 minutes to 30 minutes with the doctor. Because right now it's 10 is the normal, I guess.
Right.
And you
Yeah.
got to see as many people as part of the whole process from the business side. But 20 minutes, you're guaranteed 20 minutes with them. And he says, our goal is not to put you on meds. Our goal is lifestyle change because everything's driven to get you the next med for your problem or to take care of whatever you have. But we want to change. We want to make lifestyle changes. So we're going to spend the time with you to get to that part. So
That's
no,
super cool.
it's such a different mindset. Yeah.
So this
And
is just a local physician there. He's got his own practice.
he has
And
national partners across the country too. Strata is the name of the company, and they do have national partners. But he's entrepreneurial in what he's doing, and I love connecting with those type of people that really have a strong mission and vision for what they're doing.
super cool. I'm gonna have to get his information. I'd love to have him on the show and kind of deep dive
Yeah,
so other, business owners can hear about this because I've never heard about it. That's phenomenal. Very cool. And he's local there to you. He's got a national thing, but you met him locally because he's in,
yeah.
yeah, the same town. Wow.
We've known each other for a few years, and actually it was great because my people found it, or people I work with found him, and I said, "Oh, I know Dr. Besmer. We have the same value system, yeah, same faith. I'm there, yeah. Let's talk some
That's
more." So
that's
family
fantastic.
business. I mean, it's yeah, perfect.
That's awesome. So, well, we've gotten to talk a lot about a lot of really cool things, but we haven't really gotten to talk about what you do at Midwest Labs.
Yeah. So Midwest Laboratories, we're a full analytical lab. We're in three verticals: agriculture and environmental is one vertical, and then human health and animal health. My dad started on the agronomy side, and it kind of grew from there. And then when I came back about 2005, precision ag was really taking off, and we did a lot of soil testing, plant testing, water testing is what we kind of grew up on. And soil testing, we are probably the number one largest soil testing lab in the country. We test soils right after harvest so that farmers and growers can put one more application before the winter. And this fall, we would average anywhere from 30 to 40,000 soils a day from October through December. So you do the math on $10 to $20 a sample. I mean, it adds up pretty fast, but you need a lot of people. So we have 300 staff. We have another 85 seasonal workers. And I even today, even as it's getting colder and colder, we still had another 10,000 today. So that business has really grown. On the other side, pet food, we do about 1,000 to 2,000 samples a day we receive from major pet food manufacturers across the country. And so we're very active on that side doing we do that final test or analysis before they send their product out to the market, or maybe they're testing ingredients or testing vitamins. So on the food side, food safety again is really growing. On the micro side, you hear a lot of recalls, salmonella or E. coli. We do that type of testing for a number of manufacturers.
Super
And
cool.
so and then one of our biggest partners is Costco. We have a lab right next to their chicken plant. So those chickens that you see by the checkout, those are all organically grown. We test the feed, the water of the chickens and the growers, all the way to the food production plant. But yeah, it's a very
Super
exciting
cool.
and mission field business that, I mean, our food is we want it
Yeah.
to be the safest thing as possible. And so I think we've really tried to bring that whole spirit and culture here with our employees, and they really feel like they're making a difference every day. And that's really what it's about. But um, when my dad had it, I mean, he ran a lean and mean business. We had 100 employees. He managed everything to the cost, super profitable. And his advisor, his tax said, "Don't grow the value of your company. Keep the value down, or you're going to pay more taxes." So that was pretty much the mantra there. Well,
Oh, wow.
guess what? Well, if you keep that up, you probably at some point it's going to break, or it's going to go down. So I had to take the mindset, oh, well, we're going to grow the company. We need more staff. So different mindset, not saying right or wrong, just different. And we're growing and we continue to grow at a rapid pace. Right now, we're putting a portable lab in one of our buildings because our other campuses, we're not ready to move there yet. So we're doing all these things to keep operations going. I'm just amazed at everything that happens every single day around here to keep things going and all the testing, the results. I didn't mention that, but typically we get a sample in 3 to 5 days. We get turn around and back. So we're like a big
Wow.
production lab. So we do the testing, get the information back to the people making decisions so they can make the decisions on their products. But yeah, it's a fast paced business, but it's got to be very accurate. There's got to be a lot of quality behind the scenes and systems. We're putting a whole new system in. We're on year 3 of that. So a lot of technology going into place too as well. But yeah, very exciting, very exciting.
That's fantastic. That's super exciting. I mean, I think that the thing that a lot of businesses struggle with is kind of having a mission that is not just showing up to get a paycheck to go home so that you can feed your family, right? A lot of businesses can get really cold and lack that real purpose and drive. And you guys have it built right in. I mean, and I think that's fantastic. We do IT and cybersecurity stuff, and for us, when I got out of the Army, it took me the longest time to realize that the thing I loved about the Army, and then what I ended up loving about my company, was that we're defending our small businesses from these bad guys. And it really became very obvious, after now 13 years of we've kept every single one safe. But the interesting part is they're really coming after US businesses. I mean, there's a huge push. The numbers are staggering, and the losses are gigantic when they do get through. But once I realized, hey, wait, that's why I love this every day. That is what drives me. And then I could convey this to the team, and everybody's like, it is awesome. We have great clients, and they were really motivated. And so that you must, on your end, I mean, it's pretty clear as you tell the story, and talk about it. I mean, how do you, have you institutionalized, or is it just kind of everybody gets it because you're keeping the food supply safe, you're keeping dogs safe,
I think people get it. I would say, even myself, I don't know if I really knew the why behind it, why I was doing the test I was, even in high school, college. So we're really trying to make even that this is why you're doing this test. This is why this company needs that result. I mean, I don't think we're there yet. I think some people still see it as, I have to do this, or this is what I'm doing today. Well, it'll always be. We'll continue to work at that all the time. But
Yeah.
the more and more our mission and vision, we say it, we have a monthly town hall. Anybody can attend in person. And then we also go through Teams and record it. But we want people to know about what's happening at the company. We want people to know what's,
Yeah.
where are we at, financially, where are we going? All that is really critical, that whole communication internally. Because if you take care of the people around you, you will take care of your clients. You have to do your employees first. You have to really, sometimes, about you, I was taught clients always correct or clients always right all
Yeah.
the time. That's not true. I'll just say that's not true. Make sure you get it right internally. And it's not fun when you say, what's our goal for in 2022, our goal was an infrastructure. Yeah, that sounds really exciting, doesn't it? That sounds really sexy. Let's work on our infrastructure. We're on year 3
Real
of our
infrastructure.
infrastructure. Yes. Cybersecurity. Yes, we have to throw some money at that. Absolutely.
Like,
I mean, I don't want to hear that, but yes, we have to. I mean, some of these things you have to do that you never even foresaw that you would have to do 5-6 years ago. But it's so critical that you do those things to have a safe environment and make sure that you continue operations every single day.
Yeah, I've got a buddy who runs a company, and he has really formalized he spent a lot of time and effort kind of formalizing their mission statement and and their core values, and he drives it home with them kind of almost daily, and where everybody's kind of it's not it's so ingrained, right? And that works for some people. I think it works out really well for them, and it's one way to get that across. But as I hear you talk about this, I can't help but think of that worker who is testing that. Now that could easily be, I could easily envision that being like a car assembly line person who's just like, yep, I'm nothing but a robot, and I'm here for this thing, and a robot could take my job for sure. However, I can also see that same mission playing out in that person's head, that I've got to make sure I'm doing this just right, and that I don't contaminate this, I don't screw it up, so that we can make sure that the food supply, I'm keeping the food supply healthy, I'm keeping people's pets healthy and safe. And there's it goes right back to that kind of gratitude. It's a mind shift like gratitude of, hey, there's a purpose to my job. I'm not just stamping out, I'm not a widget, a cog in a machine. I'm helping to keep people safe. And, then you're working for this company that's also giving you medical care on site. It's like, forget about it. Come on. That's amazing. That's fantastic. So I applaud you for that. I think it's a super cool mission. That's just really cool. It's fun to see how you light up when you talk about it. I think that's got to be contagious, and I'm sure everybody there feels the same way. So kudos on that. And I should ask you a question, but I think that's such a great place to end. I'm and with gratitude, I'm very grateful that you came on our show today and shared your stories and everything with us. But before we go, can you tell everybody where they can find your book, where they can find out more about your company? And yeah.
Yes. My book, ceoofyourheart.com, midwestlabs.com. We have all of our analysis you can see on there. I will lead, I love how we're leaving this with gratitude. If I could add, and your story of your example about driving the mission and vision, one simple thing that really has helped me spread that news here is call people by their name. It's amazing. I don't know everybody's name still at 300. I try to learn. I try to meet with everybody once a year. But if you can call out their name, they stop in their tracks in the hallway. And it's so personal. And that's really, I think, if I could leave you with one more thing, I'm so grateful for all the employees who worked here, but I did not realize the power in that calling somebody by their name. It is huge. And it's made it such a difference for me and the people I work with here.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, Brent, thanks for coming on the show today. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Matthew. It was a pleasure. Great discussion.
Thanks for listening to the Cyber Business Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.